Okay, so part 2 of the Graphing Systems quiz review is to actually do the graphing. So we're going to do solve systems by graphing here, and I'm going to remind you how to do that in this video. So first things first, you check to see if your equations are in y equals, and in this case, they are in y equals, so we have to find a slope and a y-intercept for each. So let's start. I'm going to zoom this in. So starting with this top equation here, I'm going to do the work down here. So m for this one is our slope, and that is 1/3. And b is our y-intercept, that is 1. Okay, once we found those, remember we start at our y-intercept. So we're going to start at 1, and this is my y-line, and I'm going to make a dot at 1. Then I'm going to use my slope as my rise and my run. And so this tells me I have to go up 1 and right 3 for my rise and run from this spot. So up 1 and right 3 would be right here. And then you want to take a straight edge and draw your line through those dots all the way from edge to edge on the graph. Okay, good. Now we want to do the next one. So the next one, same thing. It's already in y equals, so I can find my slope and my y-intercept right away. The one thing that's missing is a hiding 1 in front of that x there. So that means that my slope is actually -1 and my y-intercept is 5. Now remember, when we're graphing, we always want slope to be a fraction. So if it's not a fraction, we make it one by putting a 1 underneath. All right, again, we're going to start at our y-intercept. So we get a dot at 5 right here on the graph on the y-line. And this tells me -1. So now I'm going to go down 1 and right 1 from that spot. So down 1, right 1 would be right here. And you want to take your straight edge now, and you want to draw your graph through those dots, and you can see right where it's going to cross the red line, which is where what we want, because we need a solution. So the final answer, this is the solution right here where they cross. So our solution to the system, the way we find that, remember, is we do x comma y. And so if I put my pen or my pencil right here and I follow it to the x-axis, that number is 3 for the x. If I go back to it and I put my pencil or pen on there and I follow it over to the y-axis, that number is 2. And so my solution is 3, 2. Okay, let's do the ones on the back, which are a little more challenging. The reason they're more challenging is because one of them is not in y equals on this one, okay? So let's start with the one that is. So starting with the one that is, you do the same thing. Start with finding slope and y-intercept. So slope in this case is -2. Y-intercept is 3. This one needs to be a fraction, so we're going to put it over 1. Again, start with your y-intercept and use your slope to go down this time because of a negative and right. Okay. Starting at 3, 1, 2, 3, put a dot. And now we're going to go down 2 and right 1, put another dot. And we're going to draw our line through our graph. All right. Now we're going to do the same thing with the next one, except for we have to put it in y equals format first. So I need more space. I'm going to write it down here so that I can change this. Okay, I have to get y by itself, so I'm going to subtract 6x first to cancel it. And then I'm going to divide the 3 to cancel that, making sure I divide everything by 3. Okay, I'm going to rewrite it. Y equals 15 divided by 3 is 5. -6 divided by 3 is -2. Put your x back on. And now we find our slope and our y-intercept once again. So remember, slope is next to the x, so that's got to be -2. Y-intercept is by itself, so that one's 5. And I want my slope to be a fraction. Okay, I'm going to start at 5 this time. So up 5 right here on the line. And this one's down 2 and write 1 for my slope because it's negative. So down 2 and write 1. And then you want to draw your line through your graph. And you can see that these are parallel lines. So parallel will never cross. So our solution is actually no solution this time. All right, last graph and last thing for our quiz review today. All right, 2 weird things. The first one is y equal a number, right? And so remember, I gave you a hint that that meant y-axis. Use the y-axis to find 1. So here's the y-axis. Here is 1, and we're going to make a dot. And then we want to draw the line opposite of that axis. So the y-axis is running up and down. So to draw it opposite, I'm just going to draw it horizontally through there. So that one's done. Now, this one I have to change and make it y equals just like I've done the last few graphs. So the first thing I'm going to do to make that y equals is I'm going to add 4x to cancel it. And then I have to cancel that 3 by dividing everything by 3. So I get y equals -9 divided by 3 is -3. And then 4 does not divide 3. So we're going to leave it a fraction of 4 over 3, put the x back on. And then I'm going to find my m, my slope, and my b, my y-intercept. So in this case, my m is next to x. It's 4 over 3. And my b, my y-intercept, is -3. Where do I start? Do I start at 4 over 3 or do I start at -3? I have to start at -3. Start with b. All right, so -3, put that dot. And now this means I'm going to go up 4 because it's positive and right 3. So up 1, 2, 3, 4, and right 1, 2, 3. And it lands right on my other line, which is great because now I know where it's going to cross for my solution. But you still want to draw your line through it. And now my solution is right here where they cross. And so I want to get an x and a y for that. So my solution, x comma y. All right, let's follow it down to the x. That number is 3. And then let's follow it over to the y. That number would be 1. And that is our final answer. Okay, that wraps it up. Hopefully that helps you study for our test.